Lately I've been subjecting myself to playing Valkyria Chronicles 4, a C-tier strategy game full of your typical anime cliches and war tropes mashed together. But this video was not made to talk about how this game hasn't evolved a tangible amount from its 10-year-old ancestor, as that's not something I want to get into right now. Rather, in this video I will be flexing my surface-level knowledge of firearms and showing you the real-life counterparts of the firearms from these games. So let's begin with the first game in the series, Valkyria Chronicles. First off, for the rifles, we have the Galleon, which has a stock and upper receiver that highly resembles a German Gewehr 43, with a muzzle and handguard cap more closely matching a French Maz 49. Next, there's the ZM car, and the only thing I can really comment on is that the entire receiver and elements of the handguard kind of look like that of a Sturmgewehr, but besides that, nothing else really comes to mind. If I had to guess, I'd say the car in the name is based off the German Karabiner, which would make sense as this is the gun the anime Nazis use in these games. Now on to the submachine guns, which are just called machine guns in the games, but regardless, the first one is called the MAJ-X. This looks to have the stock, pistol grip, and lower receiver of a Sturmgewehr, but with more wood, and the entire barrel end of the weapon seems to be taken from an MP18. Next is the T-Mag, which is basically a carbon copy of a Sturmgewehr in all but the magazine, which is a bit shorter and straighter. Also note that both of these Sturmgewehr clones are listed as being chambered in 9mm, which in real life was not the case, and the Sturmgewehr was not a submachine gun anyways. It was an assault rifle often classified as an SMG to bypass Hitler's problem with having another ammunition type to supply to troops. Next we have the very interesting ZM-MP, clearly based off of the MP40 but without a stock, which is added on an upgraded version of it, though it changes the barrel to something less resembling that of an MP40. In an even further upgraded version of the MP, it gets a fixed stock that reminds me of the plastic MP5 stock. The new barrel reminds me of that of an MG15. As we move on to the only sniper rifle from VC1, we have the GSR, or Galleon Sniper Rifle. This clearly draws parallels from the stock of the Kar 98K, and the barrel, handguard cap, and muzzle of a No. 4 Lee Enfield. Finally, for VC1, we have a light machine gun called the Room, and really this is an MG34 with weird colors on it. There's not much to add beyond that. As we move on to Valkyria Chronicles 2, note that I will not be covering weapons that carry over into the later games, only exclusive ones. With that said, the first and only rifle is called the Hervor, and seems to have an SVT-style barrel, but any details beyond that are too difficult to make out. On to the machine guns. The first one is called the Mags T, which seems to have a folding stock from an MP40, a drum magazine from a Lewis gun, and a barrel resembling that of an MP18. Next is the Squall, which very closely resembles a Bren, with the magazine of a ZB VZ26. Not sure how this is a submachine gun. Following that we have the Hurricane, which seems to have the barrel and muzzle of a ZB VZ26 with the receiver, pistol grip, and stock of an M60. An upgraded version of the Hurricane has a dual drum magazine and barrel reminiscent of an MG15. As we throw all forms of practicality out the window, we come to the Cyclone, which seems to be an M61 Vulcan rotary cannon with a skeleton stock. Not something I would recommend shooting ever. Finally, for the machine guns, we have the Idun, which, like the Room from VC1, is a copy-paste of an already existing light machine gun, in this case the MG42. The only difference is that, as you can see, the Idun is completely red. Valkyria Chronicles 2 and 3 both have pistols, but the only example is the Viper X, which seems to draw inspiration from the C96 carbine, though with an exposed hammer. For VC3, there's only one weapon I could find that's completely unique, and that's a machine gun called the Held. Despite being classed as an MG, it's very clearly based off the SVD Dragunov sniper rifle, but with stupid colors as tradition calls for. Valkyria Chronicles 4 has some interesting new additions, all having a theme of being based off of American firearms from World War II, starting with the Lenfield, which obviously draws its name from the Lee Enfield, but curiously bears little resemblance to it, comparing better to the M1 Garand, due to its semi-automatic functionality. Next we have the MGs, starting with the Brown, clearly based off of the Browning automatic rifle, both in name and design. Following that we have the Robinson, which seems to be inspired by the M1928 Thompson, but most of the resemblance is in the handguard and charging handle guards. Finally, we come to the Rising, which in-game is just a Robinson with a stock, but the name likely derives from the M50 Rising. And with that, every weapon worth covering has been covered.